Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we're back to the Lord of the Rings the adventure card game, written right there I suppose. We're now into quest 3 of this second campaign, The Shadows Fall, where we're going deeper into a dwarf mine to find and free the slaves. There is definitely some anti-slavery thoughts in this story, but weirdly, and this is probably, if I can make a stereotype, because Tolkien is British, of a certain age, and would have been raised at a certain age, you do have this lack of intermixing amongst the different regions of Middle-earth, which kind of just doesn't make a lot of sense. There's, for lack of a better term, complete segregation that happens where you have hobbits in one area and humans in another, and elves in another, and orcs in another, and goblins in another, and spiders mostly in Mirkwood Forest in their own little area. Even animals that you would think would just be everywhere seem to be, if not magically segregated, intentionally segregating themselves, which doesn't really help the idea of having 3 different heroes of 3 different types and classes. It doesn't help the game much.
You stumble about inside the abandoned mine of Nibindoom. Once a thriving dwarven mine in ages past, it is now little more than a maze of winding passages and damp caves. You feel the weight of the hill pressing down, as whispers in a dark tongue echo through the labyrinth. You advance with caution through shadowed passages, the sense of danger growing with every step.
Yeah. Ironically, if Sauron was telling the story, and he was the victor, Sauron's the overall thought, as I understand Lord of the Rings, was that Sauron forged 12 rings for 12 separate kingdoms, 3 for the elves, 3 for the humans, something like that. So even at the beginning of the story, where the different species were all fully segregated into these different classes, these different kingdoms that were maybe somewhat friendly with each other, but probably were fighting against each other at least a little bit. And then Sauron's plan to create one ring that would control all the other ring wearers, and thus, from the shadows, secretly unify the entirety of Middle-earth under one rule. It's not the worst plan as far as forcing groups together. There is a Chinese movie with Jet Li in it called Hero, just Hero, and it tells definitely a propagandized version of a story that I think really did happen, where this hero character ends up saving or sparing the life of this king who is incredibly brutal and causing a lot of war in what would have been pre-China, the warring states era before China was formed. 12 different nations all constantly at each other's throats. Overall, though, that emperor did unify the warring states through brutal suppression of other forces and through warfare, but he is definitely in the movie propagandized to be the hero of the story, in part because he did bring about a larger country. Although, arguably, when you're talking about China, or even when you're talking about the United States, let's use the United States for for an example. United States, after its Civil War, was unified into 50 smaller countries called states that still 200 plus years later are politically at each other's throat and not viciously fighting each other with guns and swords, certainly, but they hardly are as unified as they would want to put out the appearance of. But legally and federally, they are a republic of 50 states that form one country. So I could see Middle Earth certainly being something like that, where you would still have an area where mostly humans live, and an area where mostly elves live, and a different state for the dwarves, and a different state for the orcs. You do see mostly free travel in Middle Earth as it stands, however, in that the dwarves and the hobbits do seem to be fairly allowed to cross over other people's territory, which that is certainly could have not been the case. I'm rambling on here instead of
mine is the choice of
playing the game.
My axe is restless in my hands.
Yeah, I guess if that was the thing you wanted to do, if you were going to write a fan story around Lord of the Rings, you would do well to set it 100 to 1,000 years in the future with someone like Sauron succeeding to unify everything, or at least attempting to unify anything. I'd say the Lord of the Rings story does do a little too much of the mustache twirling narration, though. Like, Sauron is clearly the bad guy. There's no indication that the orcs might know something, or that anybody would have any reason other than being magically forced to follow Sauron. Let's confirm this, I guess. So you must start the maze again, location specific. The thing here, -1 each to each fate meter, contribution, revenge -1, cost to the light, the dark. So we're supposed to find a path. So it seems to me like the only way you can even win this challenge is to get 8 points of power with this potentially being I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, or if I should attack this or not. Well, I think the smart move is to attack it first and see what happens. Okay. So, hit this. Another thing that I was reminded of.
No man.
So we destroyed that, and that did reduce the cost here. Let's go ahead and do this too.
Run them down! Kill him quick! Kill him now!
Okay, we can't win here. Probably our best bet is to kill that one. So yeah, another point I wanted to mention here is that in the tutorials we had a choice at which we could swap between one, we could go to the left or right effectively on the decision, and they've completely given up on that. There has been no introduction of any other options. And we should have seen another option if such a thing was going to really happen.
May I see everything? For the master.
Okay. Should have enough here. Now. So we just need one more. Why did that not work? Whatever. We'll do that. We'll activate that. We've completed the goal. So then the question just comes down to a matter of can I or should I play another turn? I'd say no. Just move forward, travel on. It could have been a nightmare scenario.
To a rough-hewn chamber deep within Nibeldoom. It's clear that your quarry has chosen this as their lair, based on the crude furniture and ragged skins scattered about, and the orcs who surge to their feet as you enter. Several move to protect their leader, a familiar creature you remember from your recent adventure with Bilbo. While you square off, the chieftain chortles something in black speech. The other orcs chuckle and snort, as you're evidently the butt of some joke. Though you don't know why the orcs are abducting these people, defeating the leader should halt the raids terrorizing the lands around Mirkwood, even if only briefly. First, however, you must get past his guards. The brutes stand ready, as if daring you to make the first move. Before you can act, cries erupt from the tunnel as a swarm of goblins joins the fray.
You know, this Uthak character, I feel like there was a character in Lord of the Rings, Shadow of Mordor. I don't even know if it was called Lord of the Rings. I think it was actually called Middle Earth Shadow of Mordor because they didn't have the rights to the Lord of the Rings title per se, since it wasn't canon in the minds of the people who own the rights to the Lord of the Rings of the Tolkien estate. But that reminds me of that game and really highlights how much I enjoyed the brutal, constant killing and action and violence of Shadow of Mordor compared to the narrative storytelling and the slower paced strategy and logical gameplay here. I feel like true fans probably might lean more to liking Lord of the Rings: The Adventure card game, but fans of video games who have been trained for decades to want that run and gun feeling, or in this case a run and shoot arrows or stab with sword feeling, I think fans of video games like that, or have been trained to expect games like that, would like Shadow of Mordor a lot more. Which is a shame that there isn't a happy middle ground there. There definitely could have been a little bit more storytelling actually from the Lord of the Rings books in Shadow of Mordor, but instead it tells a fairly disconnected story that is kind of set in the same world, which worked fine. Okay. Defeat Ulfak's bodyguards, then Ulfak. Right. So we have all these orcs. And then if he has any enemies on the left, I guess my left, that's interesting. Okay. Interesting. So I have an energy here. I don't know if that was left over from the last time or not, but it seems to me we can grab this discarded torch and put it to good use. Okay. So then a special gain 1 power on fate. This character is low on health. So we'll stick with our standard strategy. Once again, you're really not changing much here. Then we have 2 points, so we can play something with guard that would do 1 damage, or we can do that. Which
nothing passes unnoticed.
For Rivendell!
I want to put this in the defense mode. We're not in a really good position here. And I doubt this is the final boss fight. Counter to every enemy this round. Oh, you know why I had 1 energy? It's because I think this guy's has... Nope, he doesn't have anything. It's nice potentially to have a character that would give us opportunities, but it's not like you instantly win if you have 12. You just kind of max out at that point, so let's see. Play this, and then with that surge, kill one of these. Should have killed that one actually. We have to kill this guy first anyways, because we can't attack until that happens. So I'm just going to put this guy in defense mode. That way when the new turn starts, he's not capable of killing this character. Heal yourself again. Wait for that guy to heal. Can we win in 1 turn? No, he's going to attack. Sneak attack. Advanced warning. I think advanced warning is probably a good move. And then throw out a character with guard. That exhausted that guy. Okay. We don't have self-preservation now. We don't have enough resources. Oh well. Just win. Put that in defense mode. Put that in defense mode. We have 2 fate points, so I assume that'll travel along with us. And then I still have really not figured out whether you discard cards or not. I guess you don't
You
normally.
stumble about inside the abandoned mine of Nibeldoom. Once a thriving dwarven mine in ages past, it is now little more than a maze of winding passages and damp caves. You feel the weight of the hill pressing down, as whispers in a dark tongue echo through the labyrinth. You advance with caution through shadowed passages, the sense of danger growing with every step.
This feels like a very generic description that could have been in a game of Hero Quest or like Dungeons and Dragons or any kind of tabletop game where you would turn over a random card and it would say you're stumbling around the maze in the darkness. Almost certainly there is a Lord of the Rings themed Monopoly game where you would, I'd assume, go from the Shire all the way to Mount Doom and then go in a circle and go back around. Although Lord of the Rings and Monopoly thematically don't really make that much sense. It feels to me like as we progress here, we're going backwards and forwards, because we are now back to trying to get resources for this, and that's probably the only way out of here. And let's see. This is -1 for each contribution. Right. I think for the most part, if you did this, that gets you the 4. Notice it goes up 1, then it goes down 1. And then you do that, it goes up 1, and then it goes down 1, so that's pointless. So I should power this.
Let's have some fun.
We've got a pretty strong guy here, so we should probably take him out. Actually, I don't think I can take him out. Well, regardless, seems like we're in a pretty good position. Ranged rival deal 1 damage, or sneak attack, or draw 2 cards. I feel like drawing 2 cards would be a mistake. And that didn't work exactly how I'd want it to go, but I think that worked pretty well. This would start the maze again. Location specific. I wonder if that means it would send you all the way back to the beginning of this encounter. And so maybe instead of choosing a left or right decision, we have a situation now where we're in this maze and the maze could go on forever. Okay. Activate that, complete the goal. Then it is just a matter of putting the ones we want to put in defense mode. There's not really even a reason to kill this character. Let's go ahead and put this in defense mode also. And then let's travel. I don't see a way you win if you get sent back to the beginning of the news, the beginning of the maze. Taking those extra turns would almost certainly increase your threat to 50.
You make out a series of darkened alcoves along the walls. Crude sets of iron bars secured with thick ropes stand before each opening. Within the makeshift cells, the pathetic forms of emaciated prisoners reach out to you for help. Just then, the candle's light sputters out, plunging the room into utter darkness. A woman's scream echoes in the dark, and some creature chutters in response. The frenzied patter of fast-moving feet and guttural jabber of foul speech erupts from all around. Goblins! As the chamber descends into chaos, you're torn between an obligation to save the prisoners and the desire to simply stay alive. You could swear that you hear Radagast shout,
Free them all! Hurry!
but you left him in the village far away, so it cannot possibly be his voice. Can it?
Weirdly, I don't feel like we've really seen goblins here. They look just like orcs. And perhaps that's the problem, is that orcs and goblins depicted in card form in particular just aren't that different. I'm going to just say pause the screen now if you want to read this. This text is way too small. I'm giving up on reading that. Although I probably do need to read it. So yeah, this is an orc. Prisoner guard. This is a Dol Guldur goblin, labeled as an orc. So apparently goblins are orcs in this world, which I would say in other classifications that's almost certainly. So we have a darkness here, we have a darkness here, and a prisoner. So I think the first move is probably to rescue prisoners and see if that gives us more characters. We have enough room. Grant growing darkness one random non-unique ally. Gnawing darkness +1. As far as a shadow, +1 threat. So now we just have a shadow item on ourselves. Right. Well, first things first. I guess we'll just do gaining strength. That'll knock the guy down with guard. And then for safety, we'll kill that.
You wish you were dead already.
And then free this guy. It's not working well so far. I was hoping to free another character.
You can't escape.
And it didn't. Who's the most important to kill? If that's the case, then this.
He cannot stand alone.
Okay.
You brief signal, shoot you in the dark.
we're not really doing probably the best solution here, but I think it works fairly well. So do that. Make some more progress there. I think we killed the guy that had the negative shadow effect. I think they killed that character off. Right? I guess put something like that in defense mode since it doesn't have any value towards that. And then we can play that. And then you do that. And then you can do that. Then we can... I mean, just for safety's sake, I guess we'll put that in defense mode, just in case he decided to do something else. Then that's the last card we have. And that's just quest complete.
Radagast awaits as you exit the mines, with food and warm clothing for the freed prisoners. You don't know how he managed to arrive so quickly, laden with such bounty. For the ways of wizards are mysterious indeed. Still, you are no less thankful. As they fill their bellies and don new clothes, the prisoners speak of their rough handling by the orcs. They were taken from all over southern Mirkwood. Some were from villages like the one near Ruskable, while others were woodsmen or farmers eking out a living along the forest edge. A handful were captive for quite some time. They describe how the orcs took a number of prisoners each week to Dol Guldur, but for what purpose they cannot say. Radagast spits upon the ground.
The Necromancer's Tower. Dark magic in that place.
He looks off, lost in thought.
Very dark. There's no time to waste,
He tells you.
You must scout the tower to uncover its secrets. I'll join you there after I take these people back to Roskabel.
So both Radagast seems to be kind of useless as a wizard, more than even some of the other wizards. But he just also is pretty useless in this video game adaptation, in that maybe you could have unlocked him as a character at some point and then played with him in your deck, but not 100% sure how.
Ulfthak lost track of the hours spent feeling his way through utter darkness. Though gravely wounded in the battle, he had survived. He'd lain still as a corpse to convince his foes that he was, in fact, dead. He then waited, willing his mind to ignore the pain, driven by something even stronger, the need to survive. Once more, he was thwarted in his assigned task. The master would not be pleased. Ulfthak didn't like to lose, but perhaps his greatest strength, aside from his exceptional cunning, was knowing when it was time to retreat.
Oh, no use going back to Dol Guldur,
he mutters. The mouth of Dol Guldur would kill him if he returned to that place, and his master would use him for darker purposes. Instead, he would return to his people in the Misty Mountains. There he would stake a new claim and recruit new followers. When the time was right, he would return to the service of the one true master. Only then might he savor the taste of revenge.
So I guess we're just promising he shall return at some point. If you told me each of these quests were actually chapters or parts of different books, I'd kind of believe you. They all end on these cliffhanger type feelings. So now we have Lit Torch as a potential card. A lot of these challenges are the same each time. Complete the quest with every hero in play, or they're very similar at least. Complete the quest with one attachment on each hero. Avoid triggering Lost in the Gloom. We did not resolve the Something in the Dark hazard. We didn't defeat every of Uthak's bodyguards in one round. And then we get 1500 for the 3 heroes. So yeah, my only thought here is that the wizard possibly unlocked in this quest if you defeated it a second time or a third time. That might make some sense. So the story is moving towards the Tower of the Necromancer as our next challenge. And I guess we just have to take the victory here. Like, there really isn't a lot to say or do. We're unlocking maybe one card each run. One unique card, 2 copies. And we probably got lucky in that last quest, and that's why it's taken considerably less time. Or honestly, I talked quite a bit in this recording, and the fact that it's only been 37 minutes really speaks to the maze being rather short, unless you screw up and then get lost in the maze, and maybe that is the balance there. Although, I do have to applaud the idea of the maze, in at least they're doing something slightly different. Not really that different, but slightly different. So I'm going to just end this episode here. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to support me further, there's a link down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.